So, here is a hazard perception test from the official Safe Driving for Life site. I scored 15 out of 15 while trialling a new strategy of 3 of 3. As there appears to be a 10-point maximum for each clip and a maximum of 4 clicks in a bunch, I thought I would try out 3 bunches of 3 clicks this time around. So we're going to have to explain why you shouldn't really just click once. The idea behind clicking 3 times is that I've seen, and we'll discuss shortly, you can score 0 for clicking too early for some hazards. And by the time a hazard has shown itself to decisively cause you to brake or slow down, you are scoring only 1 or 0. So as they score from 5 down to 1 in a bunch of 5 clickable moments in a clip, I decided to make 3 clicks so as to optimise my chances of hitting either a 5 or the centre 2, 3 or 4 scores. I was also trying to practice hitting the 2 standard, the 2 hazards that appear in one of the 14 clips, not that these 3 clips would have 2 hazards. I've seen other videos where learners are clicking more indiscriminately, such as when a car simply appears on the other side of the road around a bend. Now you could hedge even more by adopting a 4 of 2 clicking strategy, but it looks to me like most clips don't have 4 ambiguous hazards. Most clips seem to have some spare at the beginning of the clip and a few seconds at the end when nothing is happening. The early 0 scores are of varying types. Although you appear to usually score 5 out of 5 for clicking on first seeing a tiny animal by the side of the road, you do not score 5 for spotting a road narrowing into a tunnel early, or a tractor approaching on a parallel track to your road, as we'll see shortly. 2 clicks might see you falling short of hitting the 4 or 5 out of 5 sweet spot. As very few clips appear to show a hazard in the first seconds, it seems to be a good strategy to hedge against this general early 0 problem by using a bunching of 3 clicks when you do first see a hazard, such as the tunnel or tractor, and then waiting for that to develop and clicking again 3 times before the hazard causes you to slow down. It's up to you, I guess. You could go for the 2 and 2 twice in the video clip. Just whatever you do, do not click 3 times for what you think is a hazard 4 times in a row, because those 12 clicks will be an automatic fail. Broadly, I think some of the facts around the junction hazards are subjective nonsense. The only thing I can see is a difference between one car 20 feet from an exit and not a hazard, and another car 20 feet from an exit and a hazard is speed. And you can't possibly know at 20 feet or even more if they'll dramatically slow down or continue to drive straight in front of you. Let's look at one of these examples here. The first clip that was an official hazard was an exiting vehicle from a slip road, but I don't believe at that point at which they think it scores a 5, you can think of it as a definite hazard. But this would be a case where the bunches of 3 strategy would guard against failure. Additionally, the 3 spare clicks you have left could be used on a potential second hazard. Next, yes, you get a 5 if you click when the milk van is visible in the window and it's going fairly fast, so a hazard. But the tractor here, as I noted, you receive 0 for when it first appears to the left of your road on a parallel track. It's only when you see that there's a break in the fence do you score a 5. The next clip I found elsewhere is another junction exit, but it's important that many of the clips have pseudo hazards that look like developing hazards but are not. The thing that distinguishes many of these pseudo hazards appears to be the distance from you, the driver. This is why I had the strategy to click 3 times for more than one apparent hazard, as you lose nothing for clicking the wrong hazard, as long as you click on the right hazard and do not click more than 4 in a bunch or more than 10 total. But if a car does emerge from an exit, it is not a hazard if you do not have to brake or slow down dramatically to avoid it. So it's all about distance and speed. The next junction exit is a hazard because the speed of the car is greater and the exit is closer to you. Whereas this next exit, the vehicle circled in yellow, is closer to you, but the vehicle is so slow not to be a hazard. You will see all of the comments on YouTube complaining about the subjectivity of these hazards, and we see another one here in yellow, a van which does not develop into a hazard, so is a false positive if you click. Of course, as we've seen, the tractor on the parallel track was a hazard that did develop, and yet you score 0 when you first see it. As an example of distance and location, this first car exiting across your path is too far to slow you down and so not a hazard. The learner driver, however, is right in front of you, so a hazard before they pull right in front of you. This next motorcycle driving across the box junction is travelling at speed, so by the time you get onto the junction itself, it is right in front of you. Many of your hazards will have clues beforehand. This fire on the left should lead you to conclude there will be an emergency services vehicle responding shortly. Similarly, on a motorway, look for vehicles on the hard shoulder. And again, if you see a crossroads sign, then expect a hazard ahead of you, a vehicle emerging from the road crossing your path. Again, looking for any junctions coming up for any vehicles travelling at speed, including bicycles. This tractor waiting to pull out completely blocks your progress. If you look at this clip, even if the cyclist was not turning right in front of you, you would have to veer into your path due to the obstacle at the left of the road. Again on motorways, look for both the hard shoulder and other lanes for vehicles pulling across with or without signalling. And as it makes clear in the official theory book, look for vehicles that pedestrians might walk out from in front of into your path. And a third option with motorways, slip road entrances from other vehicles, added onto hard shoulders and other lanes. Any vehicles, including council vehicles or delivery vehicles, which are requiring people to cross the road back and forth, should be considered as a potential hazard. With this clip, a refuse worker is some distance away when he appears to walk back onto the pavement out of danger. But as you get closer, he reappears to step onto the road in front of you, so you can be aware of these things as they develop. Horses are fairly obvious, as they are much larger than some of the clips of tiny dogs in the distance. Water is an important one to look out for, and I think very tricky. Despite my instructor claiming water is not a hazard, you could easily miss this one, in which cars very realistically drive around a mass of water straight into your path. And as noted, a narrowing road ahead is not necessarily going to be scored when you first see it, but at the point when you see there is a car approaching just before you do. Here's a tiny dog that you usually have to click as soon as you see it on the side of the road, and a blind woman you will spot before she crosses. We then have some scores and descriptions of hazards. Learner driver emerging from junction on the right, motorcycle swerving to avoid a car turning right, oncoming fire engine, milk float emerging, car joining motorway from the hard shoulder, lorry U-turning across dual carriageway, cyclist emerging from junction on the left, tractor emerging from farm, tractor emerging from junction on right, pedestrians and parked van, lorry joining motorway, bin manning the road. The final stills here show exactly what they officially regard as green, red and amber zones of hazard. As we've already mentioned, I think there is somewhat of a contradictory double standard. If your partner was driving and said, "Oh, look at that tractor on the track parallel to ours," I would think that is good early hazard perception, but it would score 0. Whereas this 5 out of 5 is super early and the fails are all in a zone where the truck is now about to become a hazard. So, to summarise, try to remember which types of hazard might develop and do not be complacent about when the early click is either a 5 or a 0. The best hedge against failure is to make at least one click on seeing something, such as a tractor, truck or animal, and one click as you are close and well before you need to slow down or stop.